Welcome. Welcome to the session, guys. So, from today onwards, we are starting with a new series of aptitude. Okay. And in this series, we have somewhere around 18 topics. And from today onwards, the classes will be held from 9 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. And it's going to be live, like it is happening today. Okay. Now, if I talk about this aptitude series, guys, it's going to be there for somewhere around 2.5 months. Okay. So, 2 to 2.5 months. And we'll be covering topics such as your time, speed, distance, your percentage, your work rate. Okay, each and every topic which is beneficial when it comes of aptitude, we'll be talking about that particular topic, guys. Okay, now to whom it is useful, guys. So each and every person who is starting in either their first year of engineering or second year or third year or fourth year, it doesn't matter, guys. Overall, you have to sit for the placements. And the very first round of placements consist of a lot of questions which are of your aptitude. So which basically test your aptitude skills, guys. Now, in order to crack that examination, you need to prepare these 17, 18 topics. So out of these 17, 18 topics, some of them are major topics and some are minor ones, guys. If I talk about the major ones, the topics include topics like your time, speed, distance. It includes topics like your work rate, percentages, ratios and proportions, mixtures and allocations. So you guys might have heard about these topics, and we'll be discussing in depth about these topics. Let me just tell you the flow of the lecture, guys. So generally, whenever we start with the very first topic, so for the first 15 to 20 minutes, we discuss the basics of that particular topic, guys. So for example, today we'll be starting with time and work. And in the very first session, we will be discussing about the basics of time and work. We'll see what things are important and what type of questions will be asked in your examination when it comes to time and work, guys. Okay. Now, once we are done discussing the basic theoretical knowledge of time and work, we'll start with the questions, guys. And gradually we'll try to increase the level of these questions. So overall, what we'll be doing is we'll have a look at a certain topic. We'll have a look at the basics of the topic. We'll solve at least somewhere around 10 to 11 questions of that particular topic. And gradually we'll be increasing the level of the topic, guys. Okay. Now the topic might contain some certain subtopics as well. For example, if I talk about time and work, so we have to talk about something called as speed and distance as well, because it is somewhat related to time and work. There is something called as pipes and systems as well, and there is something called as ports, the concept of trains, and a lot of things are included when we talk about time and work, speed and distance, guys. So this is one of the major topics. So it's not possible to cover each and everything in one lecture itself. Okay. So I have divided these lectures, and each lecture is somewhere of 1.5 hours. So whatever topic or whatever part of the topic we are able to cover in this 1.5 hour, we'll try to do that. Otherwise, the rest of the topic will be in the second part of the lecture, guys, which will be conducted tomorrow. Okay. So topic like time and work would require at least 2 days or 3 days. And sometimes we face topics like clocks or calendars, which are considered to be minor topics. Why minor topics? Because they have very less consequence. Okay. So when I talk about those topics, so that would require a single day or a single lecture. So overall, to cover these 18 topics will be requiring somewhere of 1.5 to 2 months, guys. Okay. Now, if you have any doubts regarding this thing, regarding this aptitude edge, so I'll be discussing all those things towards the end of the session, guys. Okay. Now, let me tell you one more thing. There's a possible delay of approx 30 seconds. Okay. So whatever is being streamed right now, okay, so you'll be able to watch those things at a delay of 30 seconds. So there's a possibility I might miss on few of the questions, or I may take a longer time to respond to the questions that you'll be typing in the chat box. So hold on to the questions. I'll make sure that I answer almost all the questions, guys. Okay. So let's start with this first topic, which is called as your time and work. Now, in general, if I talk about time and work, so first we need to understand what type of question can be asked and what is the very basic information that needs to be known when it comes to time and work. Now, let's take an example to understand that thing. Let's say there's a person A. Okay, there's a person A who has got exactly 2 apples, and he can eat these 2 apples in one single day, guys. Okay. So a person A can eat 2 apples in one single day. using this information, there are two possible questions. First possible question is, in exactly 5 days, the number of apples the person can consume. Okay, it's gonna be 2 apples in one day, so in 5 days, it's gonna be 10 apples. Simple. Second type of question which is possible is, if the person wants to consume a total of, let's say, 14 apples. So in this particular case, how many days will be required? This is the second type of question that would be asked. Okay. Now we know that one day, 2 apples. So that's pretty simple. It's going to take 7 days. And if you want to formulate this particular thing, what you can do is, in a single day, the person can eat 2 apples. So in 2 days, the person will be able to eat 2 into 2 apples. In 3 days, it's going to be 2 into 3 apples. So let's assume that the person requires a total of n days to eat these apples. Okay. And the number of apples are 40. So you can just say in n days, the person will be able to eat 2 into n apples and just equate it to number of apples. That's how you can figure out the number of days, guys. Okay. I know it's very simple mathematics, guys, but formulating everything helps us to build a certain approach which can be used in any question, guys. It can be used in a difficult question. It can also be used in an easy level question. Okay. So what we generally do is we always try to build a certain approach that can be used in easy, moderate, as well as difficult level questions, guys. Yeah. So I can see some of the people commenting that they want some reforms about the language. Okay. So there's a mix of people in the session, guys. Okay. So some students are there from the southern part of the country, some from the northern part of the country. So there might be an issue with the language. What I'll do is I'll try to explain the concepts in English, and I'll just try to repeat them in the Hindi language as well, है ना? तो मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा हिंदी का भी यूज करूंगा बीच बीच में, एंड अगर कोई ऐसा है जिसको बहुत ज्यादा ही प्रॉब्लम हो रही है टू अंडरस्टैंड द लैंग्वेज, है ना, अगर इंग्लिश सीखने में या समझने में बहुत ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, तो यू कैन जस्ट मेंशन दैट थिंग इन द चैट बॉक्स. ठीक है, आप वहां चैट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं. सेम थिंग गोज फॉर द इंग्लिश स्पीकर्स. If you guys find a lot of Hindi is going on and if you feel difficult to understand, you can just mention that thing in the chat box, guys. Okay. So overall, if I'm talking in Hindi, so the English speakers, please make sure that I'm not passing any. Okay, I'll make sure that I'm not passing any relevant information, guys. Okay, or any important information. So overall, I'll just try to make it a mix of Hindi and English, guys. Okay. Got it. Let's just focus on the concept first. So 14 apples, 7 days will be required. Now this is a very simple example, and using this example, we'll just try to have a look at what other types of things can be asked. Now again, I'll just repeat this one thing. Okay, so I can see almost 40, 50 people are started watching right now. Now some of you might be good in this particular chapter of time and work, and some of you might not be good in this chapter, moderate level I would say, and some of you might not be aware of any concept of this particular chapter, guys. Okay, so as I said earlier, for the first 20 minutes I'll be discussing only the basic concepts. Okay, so for those who are not aware of the concepts, or for those who have moderate level knowledge of the questions, so you can just watch the lecture. For those who are very good at this particular chapter, guys, just hold on for the first 20-25 minutes, because once we start with the questions, the levels are going to increase gradually, guys. Okay, and so just hold on for the first, I would say, 20 minutes. Those who are very good at the chapter. Okay, now let's see. If we have been given this information, we have already seen that we can have a look at two different types of questions. Okay, now if I add some additional information along with this thing, let's say there's a person B along with the person A, and the person B can also eat 2 apples in one single day, guys. Okay, now if I ask you that A and B both have started eating the apples together, then also again two different types of questions possible. If A and B starts eating the apples together, first type of question, in 5 days how many apples will be eaten? So you can directly say that together they can eat 4 apples per day. Together they can eat 4 apples per day. So in 5 days, 4 5s are 20 apples will be eaten. And if, let's say, the next part of the question is, if they want to eat a total of 24 apples, so how many days will be required? Okay, so in that particular case, 4 apples per day, 24 apples, it's going to be 6 days, guys. People who are good in maths, they would be saying it directly, it's going to be 6 days. For those who just want to write it in terms of the formula, it's going to be 4 apples per day, right? So exactly in 2 days, how much they can eat? 4 into 2. Exactly in 3 days, 4 into 3. So let's say n days are required. So in n days, they can eat 4 into n apples. Just equate it with the number of apples, guys, and that's how you can figure out the number of days, which is going to be equal to 6 days. Okay. So for eating 24 apples, 6 days will be required. Okay. Now, if you look at these two questions, guys, the first category of the question was there was only a person A who was eating 2 apples every day. Second category of question, there were 2 people. First person A eating 2 apples per day, and the second person B eating 2 apples per day again. Okay. Now the questions were very, very simple, and I believe you guys must have understood how to figure out the solution for these type of questions. But the questions were simple because of a certain reason. The reason is we were given the efficiency of person A and person B. So now we need to understand what is this efficiency thing, guys. Efficiency is the amount of work. Efficiency is the amount of work that is done per hour, or it could be per minute, or it could be per day. So basically, it's the amount of work which is done in the unit time interval. Okay. Now, when I say a unit time interval, it could be an hour, it could be a minute, or it could be a second as well, guys. Okay. I'll just mix the languages in some time, guys. Okay. So for just now, okay, a small help from your side, guys. So people, those who are not at all comfortable in English, please just mention that thing in the chat box once. Okay. So I'll just have a look at how many people are there who are like not comfortable with the English language. So if the ratio is in their favor, I'll just try to switch to Hindi, guys. Okay. So just type a yes in the chat box if you're not comfortable with the English language, guys. Sorry. एक बार चैट बॉक्स में यस लिख के मेंशन कर दो वो लोग जो थोड़ा सा इंग्लिश से कंफर्टेबल नहीं है, ठीक है। बस ये देखना चाह रहा हूँ कि रेशियो किस तरीके से है ना। सो अगर मैक्सिमम पॉपुलेशन इंग्लिश से कंफर्टेबल नहीं होगी तो हम थोड़ा सोचेंगे कि लैंग्वेज स्विच करना है। Okay, I will wait for the results, guys. Till then, let's just continue with the solution of this question. Okay, so we have seen that we were aware of the efficiency. Okay, so by saying efficiency, I mean to say the amount of work which can be done in a unit time interval. Okay, so by saying a unit time interval, it could be a interval of 1 second, it could be an interval of 1 minute, or it could be an interval of 1 hour, guys. Okay, now the question could have been in this particular way: 2 apples per second, right? It could have been 2 apples per minute, or it could have been given as 2 apples per hour, guys. Okay, so all these are given in terms of per second, per minute, per hour. So these are basically their unit work done in a unit time interval. So this is what you call it as efficiency, guys. So in every question of time and work, if the efficiency is given, the question is going to be an easy question, guys. It becomes very, very easy to solve these type of questions, guys. Okay, so let's have a look at the responses of the chat box. Okay, only 5-6 people have responded till now. Okay, so okay, no, perfect. Okay, it's only 5-6 responses, so basically I can see that yes, I can move with the same language. Okay, so in case किसी को लगता है, अगर इनकेस किसी को लग रहा है कि भैया बहुत ज्यादा इंग्लिश हो रहा है, तो जस्ट उसे चैट बॉक्स में एक बार मेंशन कर देना। थोड़ा बहुत जो भी कॉन्सेप्ट का इशू है मैं आपको हिंदी में बता दूंगा वहां पे, ठीक है। चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं थोड़ा सा। हमने एक चीज यहाँ से उठाई है, क्या उठाया है यहाँ से? एफिशिएंसी का। ठीक है, सो दिस वर्ड एफिशिएंसी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस थिंग? सो बेसिकली एफिशिएंसी इज द अमाउंट ऑफ वर्क डन। ओके, इट इज द अमाउंट ऑफ वर्क which is being done at unit time interval. Okay, amount of work done per unit time interval. For example, if a person is eating 4 apples and he takes 2 hours to finish those apples, the efficiency cannot be said to be equal to 4, guys. Efficiency is for unit time interval. So exactly in 1 hour, the person will be able to eat how many apples? 2 apples. So we can say that the efficiency of the person is equal to 2 apples per hour, guys. Okay, हाँ थोड़ा सा एंड में मैं बता दूंगा आपको, हिंदी में बता दूंगा, ठीक है। Efficiency of the person will be said to be 2 apples per hour, guys. Again, if let's say there's a person B who can eat 6 apples and he takes exactly 3 hours to eat those apples, so exactly in 1 hour the person will be able to eat 2 apples. So exactly in 1 hour 2 apples, so the efficiency of the person B is said to be 2 apples per hour. So efficiency बहुत keyword है, guys. So in every question of time and work, if the efficiency is known to us, the question is going to be very, very simple, guys, and we'll be able to solve the question. The question type you have already seen, you know? So if we know the efficiency, how many apples are being eaten every day, so we can figure out the number of apples that can be eaten in 5 days. Similarly, to eat let's say 24 apples, how many days are required, so that thing will also be figured out if we know the efficiency in the question. Okay, chaliye. Now, let's say if I have a question something like this. There's a person A who does exactly, 40 units of work. Now that work could be anything, guys. Okay, that work could be eating apples, that work could be eating chapatis, that work could be filling a tank, that work could be traveling a certain distance, or that work could be reading certain number of pages of a book. That work could be anything, guys. Okay, so we just keep it as 40 units of a certain work is being done. Okay. The person A is there who is doing 40 units of a certain work, and he requires exactly 10 days to complete that particular work. Now there's a person B. Who can also complete the same amount of work. So same amount of work, it means 40 units of work, and the person requires exactly 20 days to complete this 40 units of work. Now, on the basis of this information, the possible question could be something like this: How many days will be required? How many days will be required to complete the work if both of them work together? How many days will be required to complete the work if both of them works together, guys? Okay, now person A can do 40 units of work in 10 days. The person B can do 40 units of work in 20 days. Now, how many days will be required to complete the work if both of them works together? Kitna work? Both are doing 40 units of work. Okay. How many days will be required to complete this 40 units of work? Let's mention it. 40 units of the work if both of them works together. Now, as I've said, whenever you get a question of time and work, the first thing that needs to be done is to figure out the efficiency of individual person, guys. Okay. Now, if I look at the person A can do 40 units of work in 10 days. So first of all, I'll be trying to figure out the efficiency of the person A. So 40 units of work in 10 days, it means in exactly one day, the person A can do 4 units of work. So we can say it's 4 units of work per day. That's the efficiency of it. Similarly, if I talk about the efficiency of B, guys, the person B can do 40 units of work in 20 days. So the efficiency is going to be what? 2 units of work per day. है ना? So how much amount of work the person is doing every day is called as the efficiency. जितना काम एक दिन में बंदा कर रहा है वो उसकी efficiency कहलाती है. आप चाहें तो उस चीज को एक दिन में भी ले सकते हैं, आप चाहें तो उस चीज को एक मिनट में भी ले सकते हैं, या फिर एक सेकंड में भी ले सकते हैं. अगर आप एक सेकंड के हिसाब से लोगे तो हमेशा सेकंड के हिसाब से लेना पड़ेगा. अगर मिनट के हिसाब से लोगे तो हमेशा मिनट के हिसाब से लेना पड़ेगा, और आवर के हिसाब से या फिर डे के हिसाब से लोगे तो हमेशा उसके हिसाब से लेना पड़ेगा. यहाँ मैं डेज की बात कर रहा हूँ तो हमेशा मैं डे के हिसाब से लूंगा. एक दिन में होने वाला काम होगी उसकी एफिशिएंसी का. ठीक है, तो हमने देखा कि यार एक दिन में बंदा ए जो है वो इतना काम करता है और बंदा बी जो है वो इतना काम करता है. ठीक है, नाउ इफ दे स्टार्ट वर्किंग टुगेदर, गाइस, if they start working together, so overall they'll be able to finish 4 plus 2, 6 units of work per day. Okay, so overall they'll be able to finish 6 units of work per day. Now if I look at the question, it is asking us how many days will be required to complete 40 units of work if both of them works together. Okay, now if they work together every day, they are able to finish 60 units of work. So this is 60 units of work every day. So you can just type it as 6 units per day. So exactly in 2 days, how much work they can do? 6 into 2. Exactly in 3 days, how much they can do? 6 into 3. Exactly in 4 days, they can go for 6 into 4. So exactly in n days, guys, exactly in n days, they can finish 6 into n, this much amount of work. So basically 6 an amount of work. Okay, they can finish. Now what we can do is we can just equate this amount of work with 40. And that's how we can find the value of n, which is going to be 40 by 6, which comes out to be equal to 20 by 3. Okay, so n is the number of days required, so it's going to be 20 by 3 days. You could have also done this thing directly, guys. Okay, the question was asking how much time is required to do the work if they work together. So together they can go for 6 units of work per day. They want to complete 40 units of work, you could have directly done it 40 divided by 6. If you couldn't math, if you know the basics of maths, you could have directly gone for 40 divided by 6. But if you're just trying to build a certain concept, you can just write it step by step, guys. Okay, so you can see that every day the person is doing 6 units of work. 2 days mein, it's going to be 6 into 2, 3 days mein 6 into 3. So let's say in n days, 6 into n. Equated with the total number of work, 40 units. So n has to be 40 by 6, which is going to be 20 by 3. सिंपल सी चीज है गाइस, इसी चीज को फॉलो करना है और एक ही अप्रोच रखना है हर टाइप के टाइम एंड वर्क के क्वेश्चन के लिए। इसके बाद हम लगभग 11-12 क्वेश्चंस करने वाले हैं, आपको समझ में आएगा, धीरे धीरे लेवल भी इंक्रीज होगा उनका ऑब्वियसली, है ना। आपको धीरे धीरे समझ में आएगा कि यार लेवल बढ़ता है, लेकिन ये स्टेप अगर आप फॉलो करोगे तो हर क्वेश्चन का आंसर आपका इजीली आ जाएगा गाइस, ठीक है। चलिए, आई बिलीव ये चीजें सबको थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आ गई होगी, है ना। So there's a small request, guys. Just type down in the chat box if you've understood this concept, okay? Because I'll be definitely increasing the level from now onwards, है ना. So I just want to make sure that each and every person who is watching this is okay with this concept. Okay, it's a pretty simple one, I believe, but just a small yes will be helpful. Okay. Also, just a small reminder, there is a lag of almost 30 seconds, I guess, है ना. So definitely in a day or two, we'll just try to sort out how to remove that lag thing, है ना. So yes, whatever I'm speaking right now, that thing is visible exactly after 30 seconds. Okay, थोड़ा सा yes no में different हो सकता है. But thank you for the responses, guys. Now we'll just try to modify this question itself, guys. Okay, now in this question, person A was doing 40 units of work, person B was doing 40 units of work, days were 10 and 20. Okay, now the next question is, it's similar to this one. Same person A is doing 80 units of work now, and the time required is exactly 10 days, as similar to the previous one. There's a person B who is also doing the same 80 units of work, and for this, the person requires exactly 20 days, as similar to the previous one. If I look at the previous one, the work was of 40 units, 10 and 20 days. Now the work is of 80 units. We have just doubled the work, guys. Okay, and 10 and 20 days are required. Now, if they start working together, guys, if they start working together, how much time will be required to complete this 80 units of work? Okay, they started working together, you have to figure out how much time is required. Okay, so try to solve it, guys, and please type your answers in the chat box. Person A does 80 units of work, requires 10 days. Person B does 80 units of work, requires 20 days. If they start working together, how much time is required to complete this 80 units of work? Okay, responses from 2 to 3 people. Good job, guys. So I can see somewhere around 39 participants are watching this. Only 5-6 people have responded till now. I believe others are also able to solve it. Let's just wait for 20 more seconds, and then I'll be discussing the solution with this one. Awesome. Okay, let's see. So 80 units of work, 10 days are required, 80 units of work, 20 days are required. So let's just figure out the efficiency of A and B individually. Okay, so what we generally do is we build a certain approach that is useful or that can be used for solving each and every question of time and work or of a certain topic. Okay, yes, एक ऐसी approach जो हर easy से difficult तक के level के question को solve कर सकती है, वो approach हमें बनानी है। सिंपल सी अप्रोच है, क्या निकालना है? एफिशिएंसी। एफिशिएंसी क्या होता है? एक दिन में होने वाला काम, ठीक है। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, द एफिशिएंसी ऑफ ए इज इक्वल टू हाउ मच वर्क डन इन वन डे. So it's gonna be 8 units of work which is being done every day, guys. If I talk about the efficiency of the person B, okay, it's gonna be 80 by 20. So this is nothing but 4 units of work which is being done every day. If they work together, it's gonna be 8 plus 4, 12 units of work which is being done every day. Okay. Now every day 12 units of work, so exactly in 2 days, 12 into 2, exactly in 3 days, 12 into 3, exactly in 4 days, 12 into 4. Let's say it requires n days to complete the work, so it's going to be 12 into n. So these many days this much amount of work will be completed. N days are required to complete the work, so work done in n days is going to be 12 into n. You can just equate it with the number 80 which needs to be done. So n is equal to 80 by 12, which again comes out to be equal to 20 divided by 3, guys. Okay. So these many days are required to complete the work. Okay. Now, there's an interesting thing that you guys need to notice over here. When we had a look at the previous question, 40 units of work was being done by the persons individually, and we were being asked how much time is required to complete the total work if they work together. Number of days was same if we have a look at both the questions. The only thing that is increased is the amount of work. Okay, so the amount of work is increased, the number of days remains same. Still, we are getting the answer which is similar to the previous question's answer. Okay. पहले भी मुझे 20/3 days मिल रहा था जब मुझे 40 यूनिट्स का काम करना था, अब भी मुझे 20/3 days मिल रहे हैं जब मुझे 80 यूनिट्स का काम करना है। इससे मुझे ये समझ में आता है कि जितना काम हम करते हैं उस पे रेलेवेंट आंसर आपका नहीं होता है। ठीक है, यहाँ कल को अगर 80 हटा के मैं 120 लिख दूंगा तो भी आपका आंसर जो है वो 20/3 ही आएगा। अगर मैं आपको 273.16 लिख दूं तो भी आपका आंसर जो है वो 20/3 ही आने वाला है। दिस इज समथिंग इंटरेस्टिंग दैट यू नीड टू नोटिस गाइस। ओके, इसी के बेस पे आपके थोड़े जो क्वेश्चंस हैं वो डिफिकल्ट बनते हैं। ठीक है, कैसे बनते हैं उसके बारे में चलिए बात कर लेते हैं। तो हमने देखा कि यार ए और बी कितना कितना काम कर रहे हैं मैटर नहीं करता है ना। देखते हैं एग्जांपल के तौर पे देख लेते हैं। देयर इज अ पर्सन ए, लेट्स से, who is doing 20 units of work and he requires, let's say, 4 days. Okay. And there's a person B who is doing the same 20 units of work and this person requires 5 days. Okay. So overall, if they start working together, some amount of time will be required to complete the work. That same amount of time will be required if instead of 20, we have got 30 units for both of them. Same amount of time will be required if we take 40 instead of both of them, instead of 20 or 30. Okay. Only thing that is important is the work done being over here has to be equal to the work done being over here. That's it. That's all is important. Okay. But in that case, the work which is being done is not given. It doesn't matter, guys. So instead of giving these values in the question, instead of giving the values of the work in the question, what the company or what the question does is they remove this work thing. Okay. So वो लोग वर्क की वैल्यू क्वेश्चन में देते ही नहीं है, वो क्वेश्चन को इस तरीके से रिप्रेजेंट कर देते हैं। There is a person A who is doing a certain amount of work and he requires 4 days to finish the work. There is a person B who is doing a certain amount of work and he requires 5 days to finish the work. Okay. So basically in the question, if this 20 or 20 is mentioned, then also you'll get the same answer. If this 20 thing is not mentioned, then also you'll get the same answer. Okay. Now, as we have seen that we build a certain approach which is suitable for all the questions. So the first thing as per the approach is figuring out the efficiency. सबसे पहली चीज जो है वो क्या है कि हमें निकालनी है efficiency. Efficiency होता है एक दिन में होने वाला काम। अब अगर सवाल में आपको दिया है कि यार एक बंदा है जो 4 दिन में खत्म करता है, एक बंदा बी है जो उसी काम को 5 दिन में खत्म करता है, तो अगर आप इसकी एफिशिएंसी निकालने जाएंगे तो आपको एफिशिएंसी नहीं पता, बिकॉज आपको ये नहीं पता है कि वर्क कितना हो रहा है। You won't be able to figure out the efficiency directly because you are not aware of how much amount of work is being happening. Okay. So generally, in order to solve these type of questions, people assume the work to be something. Okay. So they assume the work to be equal to X, or they also assume sometimes the work to be equal to 1. Generally, people assume the work to be equal to X or 1. If you assume the work to be equal to X or 1, then in that case, let's see what's going to happen. So we have assumed that in 4 days, the person is completing exactly 1 unit of work. That's it. And the same 1 unit of work is being completed by the person B in 5 days. Okay. If I assume the work of 1 unit, in that case, efficiency is going to be how much? 4 days, 1 unit of work. So every day the person will be able to finish 1/4 unit of work, right? If I talk about P, so 5 days, 1 unit of work. So every day, in every 1 day, he'll be able to finish 1/5 unit of the work. Okay. Now, the only problem over here is the efficiencies are coming in terms of fractions. Now, if you're good in math, you'll be able to solve these fractions and you'll be able to get the answer. Okay. But if you really want to solve these type of questions in the least possible time, never ever assume the work to be equal to X or 1, guys. Okay. The only problem on assuming the work to be equal to X or 1 is we face a lot of fractions, guys. Whenever we assume the work to be equal to X or 1, we face a lot of fractions. So now the question arises ki if we don't assume the work to be equal to X or 1, then what should we assume the work? See, guys, we have to figure out the efficiency. To figure out the efficiency, whatever the work you'll be assuming, you have to divide that work by the number of days. To figure out the efficiency, whatever the work you'll be assuming, you have to divide that work by the number of days. Okay. So try to assume the work to be equal to something which is a multiple of the number of days, which is the multiple of the number of days. For example, if you have been given a person A takes 4 days to complete the work, a person B takes 5 days to complete the work is not given. So you can assume the work to be something. Now the work has to be a number which is a multiple of 4 as well as 5. So a number which is a multiple of 4 and 5, it could be a number 20. You can take the number 20, you can solve it, or you can also assume the number to be equal to 40. You can assume it to be equal to 60, you can assume it to be equal to 80. It doesn't matter whether you assume the number to be 20, 40, 60, or 80. In all the cases, you'll be getting the same answer, guys. And while solving the question, you will not be dealing with any kind of fractions, guys. Okay. Whenever you assume the work to be a multiple of the number of days, in that case, these fractions gets removed and it takes lesser time to solve this kind of questions. ठीक है, आगे जाके इनका लेवल बढ़ने वाला है, लेवल बढ़ेगा तो आसान इतना नहीं रहेगा सवाल। तो अगर आपको हाई लेवल के क्वेश्चन को आसानी से सॉल्व करना है तो आपको क्या करना है, सिंपल है, x और 1 लेके सॉल्व नहीं करना है, डेज का मल्टीपल चूज करना है। ठीक है, चलिए एग्जांपल देख लेते हैं हम लोग यहाँ पे। लेट्स से देयर इज अ पर्सन ए who takes 5 days to complete a certain amount of work. There's a person B who takes, let's say, 6 days to complete a certain amount of work. Okay. Now, as the work is not given and we are being asked if they work together, tell me how many days will be required to complete the work. If they work together, tell me how many days are required to complete the work. So again, the first thing that needs to be done is figuring out the efficiency of individual persons. Okay. Now, if I talk about the efficiency of the person, work is not given. Now we have to assume the work to be something. As I've told earlier, never ever assume the work to be equal to x or 1. Look at the days. We have been given that A can do it in 5 days, B can do it in 6 days. So assume the work to be something which is a multiple, of both 5 and 6. ठीक है, अगर आप एक ऐसा नंबर एज्यूम करते हो जो 5 and 6 दोनों को मल्टीपल है तो उससे आपका क्वेश्चन जो है ज्यादा आसानी से सॉल्व हो जाएगा। लेट्स से 5 and 6 का मल्टीपल इज द नंबर 30. So I have assumed the work to be equal to 30 units. So this much amount of work needs to be done. Okay. Efficiency of A is going to be 30 units of work needs to be done in 5 days. So every day it's going to be 6 units of work per day. Okay. Now if I talk about the person B has to do 30 units of work in 6 days. So efficiency comes out to be 5 units of work per day. Okay. Now there is no fraction over here, guys. There are all integers and integers can be solved easily. Okay. So if they work together, it's going to be a total of 6 plus 5 is equal to 11 units of work which are being done per day. And we want to do 30 units of work, so the number of days n required is going to be 30 by 11. Okay. If you're smart enough, you can just write it directly, or if you want to write it step by step, every day 11 units of work needs to be done. So in 1 day, 11 units of work. In 2 days, it's going to be 11 into 2. In 3 days, it's going to be 11 into 3. Let's say it takes n days to complete the work. Let's say it takes n days to complete the work. It's going to be 11 into n. This work can be equated with the number 30, and n comes out to be equal to 30 divided by 11, guys. Okay. So in both the ways, you can just solve it. बहुत सिंपल सी चीज है ये, ठीक है। क्या सीखा हमने अभी भी यहाँ पे? ये सीखा है कि जो वर्क हम करते हैं, जितना अमाउंट ऑफ वर्क हम करते हैं, उसका महत्व नहीं रहता है, ठीक है। तो हमें x और 1 लेके उसको सॉल्व नहीं करना है, हमें एक सर्टेन नंबर एज्यूम करके करना है। वो नंबर कोई रैंडम नंबर नहीं होना चाहिए, वो नंबर ऐसा होना चाहिए जो भी नंबर ऑफ डेज आपको वहां पे गिवन है उनका मल्टीपल हो, ठीक है। तो उनका मल्टीपल होगा तो उससे क्या होगा, हमारी जो एफिशिएंसी की वैल्यू आएगी वो इंटीजर्स के फॉर्म में आ जाएगी, और उनके इंटीजर्स के फॉर्म में आने से आपका जो क्वेश्चन है वो आगे जाके इजीली सॉल्व हो जाएगा, ठीक है। अभी इस टेक्निक का यूज करके हम लगभग 10-11 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करेंगे। पहला वाला आसान होगा, दूसरा उससे डिफिकल्ट होगा, तीसरा और ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट होगा। 8वें 9वें 10 तक जाते तक हमारा लेवल जो है वो और बढ़ता जाएगा, गाइस, ठीक है। तो मुझे एक छोटी सी हेल्प चाहिए रहेगी आप लोगों से, है ना। फटाफट से एक यस टाइप कर दीजिए चैट बॉक्स में इफ यू आर क्लियर विद दिस कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एज्यूमिंग द नंबर ऑफ डेज, गाइस, फटाफट। Please type yes in the chat if you have understood this. Okay, thank you for the responses, guys. Even if a single student is there who is facing any difficulty with respect to assuming these things, The person can mention that thing in the chat, guys. Now let's start with the questions. So in general, what I'll be doing is I'll be giving somewhere around 3 minutes for every question. Okay. You have to solve it, and even though if others have already typed their answers in the chat, feel free to type that thing again, guys. Okay, so it really helps me understand how many people are actually able to solve it. ठीक है, अगर कोई आंसर लिख देता है पहले से चैट में, तो भी आप अपना आंसर लिखिएगा। सही आ रहा है तो वो लिखिए, गलत आ रहा है तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। नहीं आ रहा है तो भी आप चैट में एक बार मेंशन करिएगा कि आपका नहीं आ रहा है आंसर, ठीक है, ताकि थोड़ा हम ध्यान दे पाए क्वेश्चन पे। चलिए क्वेश्चन की तरफ चलते हैं। 3 मिनट मिलेगा एक क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करने के लिए, उसके हिसाब से आपको चलना है, ठीक है। Have a look at the very first question, guys. Your time starts now. यस कुंजन, आपकी जो भी क्वेरी आप लिख सकते हैं वहां पे, मैं रिप्लाई कर दूंगा आपको। इंस्टेड ऑफ टाइपिंग आई जस्ट स्पीक। ओके, लिख दो वहां पे कोई क्वेरी होगी आपको। Don't worry, Shivu. Try to solve this question, है ना, and just stay with us for some time. I'll come to that type of question as well. Number here. See, in the questions, the work will not be given, Shivu. Okay. So whatever the work you are assuming, by default, you have to assume that work as a multiple of the number of days which are given to you. Like in this case, we've been given a person can do in 10 days, another can do in 20 days. So choose the amount of work which is a multiple of both 10 and 20. You can choose a number 20 or 40 or 60. Doesn't matter. For every amount of work that you choose, you'll get the same answer. Try it. Amazing, guys. Last 30 seconds. 40 seconds, in fact. No problem. Okay, let's have a look at the solution for this question, guys. So it says A can finish a work in 10 days, B can finish the same work in 20 days. If they work together, what will be the total time taken to finish the work? As I've said earlier, the first thing that needs to be done is figuring out the efficiency of A and B. You know, there's a person A who takes 10 days to finish a certain amount of work. There's a person B who takes 20 days to finish the same amount of work. So firstly, we need to figure out the efficiency. For efficiency, we need the amount of work which is being done. And as the amount of work is not mentioned in the question, what we can do is we can assume the amount of work. And the assumption should not be a number X, or also it should not be a number 1. We should assume a number which is a multiple of the number of days, guys. 10 and 20 are given. So we can either assume the work to be equal to 20, or we can go for 40, or we can go for 60. Doesn't matter. We'll get the same answer for all the work. Let's assume the work to be equal to 40, guys. Some of you might have assumed to be equal to 40. So A takes 10 days to do 40 units of work, and B takes 20 days to do the same 40 units of work. So every day, exactly in one day, how much amount of work will be finished? 40 by 10, which is 4 units of work. The efficiency of A is 40 units of work in 10 days, so it's going to be 4 units of work per day. And efficiency of B is going to be 20 units of work in 40 days. Sorry, 40 units of work in 20 days. So it's going to be equal to 2 units of work per day. Now, if they start working together, 4 plus 2 is going to be 6 units of work per day is being done. Now, every day 6 units of work, so it means in 2 days it's going to be 6 into 2. In 3 days it's going to be 6 into 3. Let's assume in n days the work gets completed. So in n days the work is going to be 6 into n, and just equate the total amount of work needs to be done. How much needs to be done? 40. So n is going to be equal to 40 by 6, you know, which is equal to 20 by 3. So how many days are required to complete this 40 units of work? 20 by 3 days are required. You can solve it by just putting it in the equation, or बहुत सिंपल सा लॉजिक होता है यार, एक दिन में 6 यूनिट का काम हो रहा है, बताओ 40 यूनिट का करने में कितना लगेगा? तो 40/6 लगेगा, सिंपल सी चीज, ठीक है? चलिए, if the days are odd and even, so it doesn't matter, just multiply them together. Okay, let's say if we have the number of days are 3 and 6, okay, if the number of days are 3 and 6, you can choose a number which is a multiple of 3 and 6. Multiple of 3 and 6 could be the number 6 itself, or it could be a number 12, or it could be a number 18, है ना? So whatever the number of days are given, doesn't matter whether they're even or odd, or a combination of even or odd, or if they are prime numbers, doesn't matter, guys. Choose a number which is a multiple of both the numbers. That's it. Okay. Sure. Let's just try to increase the level of the questions. Have a look at the next one, read it carefully, and type your answers in the chat. Your time starts now, guys. Read the question carefully. It's a bit difficult as compared to the previous one. Okay. Now A can complete a certain amount of work in 30 days, and the person B can complete a certain amount of work in 20 days. Again, we need to figure out the efficiency. For efficiency, we need the amount of work which is not given in the question. So we can assume the work which is a multiple of both 20 and 30 guys. Okay. Now there's a person A who can complete the work in 30 days. There's a person B who can complete the work in 20 days. We need to choose work as a multiple of both 30 and 20. So let's choose the work to be equal to 60 units, guys. This much amount of work needs to be done. So what's gonna be the efficiency of a work done per day? So 30 days, 60 units. That's gonna be 60 by 30, which comes out to be equal to 2 units of work, which is being done per day. If I talk about the efficiency of B, 6 units of work in 20 days, so that comes out to be equal to 3 units of work which is being done per day. Now, what happens later? A works for 5 days and then B joins. So initially, only person A is working, guys. So A completes 2 units of work every day, and A works for 5 days. Okay. So in these 5 days, he would have completed 2 into 5, which is equal to 10 units of work. The people were supposed to complete how much? 6 units of work. A alone has completed 10 units of work. It means 50 units of work is still remaining that needs to be completed, guys. Now, who is working? A and B are working together. So if A and B are working together, so they can complete a total of 3 plus 2, 5 units of work per day. Okay. The work that needs to be done is of 50 units, 5 units per day. So it's going to be 10 days directly. ठीक है, थोड़ा मैथ्स अच्छा तो डायरेक्टली कर सकते हो. 50 का काम करना है, 5 एक दिन में होता है, तो 10 दिन में 50 हो जाएगा. या फिर सिंपल था, 5 यूनिट्स का काम एक दिन में हो रहा है, 2 दिन में कितना? 5 into 2. 3 दिन में कितना? 5 into 3. मान लो n डेज में काम खत्म होता है, तो काम कितना होगा? 5 into n बराबर किसके? जितना काम करना है. कितना करना है? 50 का काम करना है, तो n comes out to be equal to 50 by 5, which comes out to be equal to 10. इक्वेशन लिख के करना चाहो वैसे कर सकते हो, डायरेक्टली करना चाहो दिमाग लगा के कर सकते हो, सिंपल सी चीज. ठीक है, चलिए. A lot of people have got the correct answer, which is really amazing, guys. Let's just move to the next question. Okay, see, the questions that are being discussed today are very simple ones, guys. We're just gradually increasing the level. Okay, and that's why I'm just trying to maintain the speed of the lecture. So in any case, if there is anyone who feels that the speed is a bit on a higher end, so please mention that thing in the chat. है ना? कोई ऐसा है जिसको लगता है कि बहुत तेज जा रहा है, ऐसा थोड़ा सा स्लो पढ़ा दो, तो मैं पढ़ा सकता हूँ थोड़ा स्लो. अगर है ऐसा कुछ तो मेंशन कर देना चैट में. काफी ज्यादा लोग रहे जिनको स्पीड ज्यादा लग रही है, तो फिर उस केस में कम करेंगे. बट क्योंकि टॉपिक सिंपल है थोड़ा सा, इसलिए थोड़ा पेस बना के चल रहे हैं. ठीक है, चलिए अगले सवाल की तरफ चलते हैं. Have a look at this one, guys. Let me just start the timer. Okay, the time starts now. One minute, 40 seconds, 50 seconds are over. Good to see a lot of people are getting the answers. Good job, guys. Kunjan, I can do that, but the only problem is if a person gets to know that a certain answer is a correct answer, then in that case, he won't be comfortable in typing his or her answer if he gets a different answer, है ना? तो इसीलिए मैं नहीं कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है? तो बस थोड़ा सा पेशेंस, ऑलमोस्ट हो ही गया, 20 सेकंड. Okay, last 10 seconds, guys. Awesome. Let's see. A can complete a work in 30 days and B can complete in 20 days. Both works for some time and then A left and B completes the rest of the work in 5 days. Find how many days A works. So as I said earlier, build an approach that can be used to solve any question of time. So again, there's a guy who takes 30 days to complete the work. There's a guy B who takes 20 days to complete the same amount of work, guys. So first we need to figure out the total amount of work which is not given in the question. So we have the liberty of assuming it to be anything. Why? क्योंकि उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. मान लीजिए वापस से 60 units of work था. क्यों लिया 60 आपने? Because it is a multiple of about 20 and 30. Now we need to figure out the efficiency of A, which is going to be 60 by 30. So it's going to be 2 units of work which is being done per day. If I talk about the efficiency of B, it's going to be 60 by 20, which is 3 units of work which is being done every day. Now, both works for some time and then A left and B completes the rest of the work in 5 days. So for the last 5 days, B is working alone and B can complete 3 units of work every day, guys. So in those last 5 days, B, while working alone, will be able to complete, would have completed 3 into 5 is equal to 15 units of work. Okay. In the last 5 days, this much amount of work is completed. So out of 60, this much is completed. It means 45 units of work remains. Okay, now let's try to understand this thing. In the last 5 days, this much amount of work is completed. It means before that, 45 units was completed. And in the last 5 days, B was working alone. It means before that, A and B were working together, guys. So when A and B were working together, they were able to complete a total of 45 units of work. Then A left and B alone completed the rest of the work in 5 days, which is 15 units. So A and B together have done 45 units of work. So we need to figure out how much time would have required. That's going to be the same time which A takes to complete the work. No, sorry. It's going to be the same time for which A has worked. Now, A and B, if they work together, so 2 plus 3, it's going to be 5 units of work that could be done every day, guys. And they have completed how much amount of work, guys? 45 units of work is completed. So एक दिन में 5 यूनिट का होता है, 45 मिनट का काम करना है, कितने दिन लग जाएंगे? 9 दिन लग जाएंगे. चाहो तो डायरेक्टली कर सकते थे या फिर सिंपल तरीका हमारा इक्वेशन लिखने का, एक दिन में 5 यूनिट का काम, 2 दिन में कितना? 5 into 2, 3 दिन में कितना? 5 into 3. मान लो n डेज में काम खत्म हो जाता है तो कितना काम हो जाएगा? 5 into n इक्वेट करता तो इससे 45 से, तो n comes out to be equal to 9, है ना? So a total of 9 days के लिए A has worked along with B and then A left and बचे हुए 5 दिन में B alone completed the rest of the work. ठीक है, आप देख सकते हैं हर सवाल का अप्रोच वही रहता है. वर्क गिवन नहीं है, अज्यूम कर लो. क्यों अज्यूम करो? ताकि आप एफिशिएंसी निकाल सको. एक बार एफिशिएंसी मिल गई, सवाल कितना भी डिफिकल्ट हो वो आसानी से सॉल्व हो जाएगा. ठीक है. Okay. Some of you have got 10, some of you have got 12, but the correct answer is 9, guys. Okay. Now, I'll just move to the next question, guys. And for those who have been facing difficulties with respect to the solution, they can mention their queries in the chat, guys. Okay. I'll come back to the question once again once we're done with the whole lecture. For now, let's have a look at a question which is a bit difficult as compared to this one. So a level is increased by a bit. Okay. Okay. Have a look at this one. So time starts now. Okay. Let's have a look at the solution. A can finish a work in 5 days and B can finish the same work in 6 days. It means we can assume it to be equal to 30. If they work on alternate days, what will be the total time taken to finish the work if A started with the work first? So first of all, we need to understand what the question is talking about. They work on alternate days and A starts with the work. So on the first day, A is working. On the second day, B will be working. On the third day, A will work again. On the fourth day, B will work again. Okay, this is how it works. Now, A takes how many days to finish the work? It takes 5 days. If I talk about B, the person B takes 6 days to finish the work. Now, as the total work is not given, we need to assume it to be equal to something. So let's take a multiple of 5 and 6, which is 30. Let's say the work is equal to 30 units. This much amount of work needs to be done, guys. Now we'll move to the efficiency part. Efficiency of A is equal to 30 by 5, which is equal to 6 units of work per day. If I talk about the efficiency of B, this is 30 units of work in 6 days, which comes out to be equal to 5 units of work per day. Now, A and B are working on alternate days, guys. And together they have to complete 30 units of work. So in the first day, when A is working, he would have completed 6 units of work. In the second day, when B was working, he would have completed 5 units of work. So total, they would have completed 11 units of work in 2 days, guys. Okay, now you need to understand this thing. They're working on alternate days, so we have to take 2 days together into consideration. In the first 2 days, they would have completed 11 units of work. Now, in the third day, again, A would have worked for 6 units, B would have worked for 5 units. So together, they would have completed again 6 plus 5, 11 units of work. Now, 11 plus 11, 22 units is already completed. Next, A is going to work again for 6 units. Now, how much is completed? 11 plus 11 is 22. 22 plus 6 is 28. So out of 30, already 20 units of work is completed. So we are remaining with only 2 units of work. Now, who will be performing? B will be performing. Okay. Now, will B be doing the whole 5 units of work? क्या B पूरा 5 यूनिट का काम करेगा? नहीं करेगा. क्यों नहीं करेगा? पूरा 5 यूनिट का काम करता है तो वो 30 मिनट्स के तो beyond चला जाएगा. If B performs the whole 5 unit of work, it will go beyond 30. So B is not going to perform for the whole day, right? Now we know that the person B does exactly 5 units of work per day. Correct? Okay. Now the amount of work which left is 2 units of work. So B does 5 units of work in 1 day. So exactly in 2 days, B can do this much amount of work. Exactly in 3 days, B can do this much amount of work. Exactly n days, B can do this much amount of work. Let n be the number of days required to finish 2 units of work. देखो मैं इसलिए हर बार इक्वेशन लिख के बता रहा था क्यों कभी कभी जब ऐसा कुछ फंसेगा तो आपको कंफ्यूज नहीं होना है आपको काम भले ही 2 यूनिट का करना है लेकिन आप मान लो n डेज लग रहे हैं करने के लिए और कुछ नहीं करना 5n is equal to 2 से इक्वेट करवा देना है तो n की वैल्यू 2/5 आ जाएगी ठीक है गाइस है ना so 5 units of work per day 2 units needs to be completed so let's say in n days 2 units gets completed 5n is equal to 2 n comes out to be 2/5 so we require 1 2 3 4 5 we require 5 complete days we require 5 complete days and then we don't require the whole 6th day we just require 2/5 part of the 6th day it means 5 complete days right we require 5 complete days and then 2/5 day okay that comes out to be total equal to 5 plus 2/5 so you can either write it as 5 plus 2/5 which is 5 as 25 plus 2 27/5 days the answer could be either written as 27/5 days, guys, or you can just mention it 5 2/5 days in the form of mixed fraction, guys. Okay. Those who have answered it as 27/5 days, the answer is correct. Those who have answered it as 5 2/5 days, that answer is also correct, guys. Okay. Now, I think this is one question that only 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 people were able to solve. Okay. So others, those who are not able to solve, just quickly take a note of the solution. Also, as it's a live stream, it will be present over there. The recording of the session will be present over there in the channel itself. So you can just move back and have a look at the solution once again, in case you find the difficulties. Okay. Sure. Also, towards the end of the session, I'll just give some time to those students who might have faced some network issues, or there are students who would have not understood a certain question. So I'll be discussing those questions with the students towards the end of the session. Okay. Chaliye, let's just increase the level of the question once again and move to the next bit. Have a look at this one, guys. Your time starts now. It's exactly similar to the previous question. Done. Okay. So A can finish work in 8 days and B can finish the same amount of work in 12 days. If they work on alternate days, what will be the total time taken? Okay. So 8 and 12 is a person A requires 8 days to complete a certain amount of work. There's a person B who requires 12 days to complete a certain amount of work. So multiple of 8 and 12, 12 2s are 24, we can take it as 24. So 24 is the total work that we have consumed. Now, if I go for the efficiency of A, 24 units in 8 days, so it's going to be 3 units of work per day. If I talk about the efficiency of the person B, so it's going to be 24 by 12, which is 2 units of work per day. Now it says if they work on alternate days, what will be the total time taken to finish the work? If B started with the work first, so first B started, then A, then B, then A. This is how it goes, right? So B started with the work, B does total 2 units of work, guys. Okay, so B would have done 2 units of work, A would have done 3 units of work. Together, they would have completed a total of 5 units of work. Again, together, they would have completed 5 units of work. We have to go for 24, guys. Again, B and A, together, they would have completed 5 units of work. Again, B and A completed together 5 units of work. So 5, 10, 15, 20 units of work is already completed. And there comes the person who can then next do 2 units of work. Okay. So 5, 10, 15, 20 already completed plus 2, 22 units. Till now, 22 units is already completed. So out of 24, 22 is completed. It means how much is remaining? It's going to be a total of 2 units of work, which is remaining over here, guys. Okay. And now comes the person A. Person A can do work at the rate of 3 units of work per day. And he is supposed to do how much amount of work? 2 units of work only. So he would not require the whole day. Okay. So let's use a simple logic. 3 units of work per day. So exactly in n days, the person will be able to finish the work. So the work done is going to be 3 into n. Every day 3 units of work. So in n days, it's going to be 3 into n. Just equated with the amount of work that needs to be done, 2 units of work. So n is equal to 2 by 3. Itne din lagenge to finish 2 units of work by the person A who can actually do 3 units of work every day. How many days are required? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we require 9 complete days, guys. We require 9 complete days, है ना? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 दूनी 8, 8 तो ये हो गया, 9वां ये complete हो गया. 10वां पूरा नहीं चाहिए. 10वें का मुझे सिर्फ इतना part चाहिए. 9 complete days and 2 by 3rd day. This much is required. You can just add them. 9 plus 2 by 3 is how much? 9 3 is 27, 28, 29. So people who have answered that it takes 29 by 3 days to complete the work, that's correct, guys. Or you could have directly mentioned in the form of a mixed fraction. The answer is going to be 9 2 by 3 days. Okay? 29 by 3 is correct and 9 2 by 3 is also correct, guys. So 1, 2, 3. 3 people have answered the question correctly. Others, you can just pause the video or you can just revise it once to have a look at the solution of the question. Okay. चलिए, so एक question और किया जा सकता है ना? So let's have a look at the last question for today. A bit difficult as compared to this question. Let's raise the level a bit. Okay, so there are 3 people now. Have a look at the question, read it carefully, and type your answers in the chat box. Time starts now. For those who are not able to understand the question, A works daily and A, B, and C works on alternate days. And on the first day, all 3 are working together. It means on the first day, A, B, and C are working together. In the next day, only A is working. And then A, B, and C again are working together. On the next day, only A is working. This is how the pattern has to be. So every alternate day, only the person A is working, and on the other days, A, B, and C are working together. Okay, let's have a look at the solution. This one, A can complete work in 20 days, B can complete it in 10 days, and C can complete the work in 30 days. So there are three people now: person E, person B, person C. Okay, so A can complete in 20, B can complete in 10, C can complete in 30. Now, in order to solve this question, we need to assume the work to be something, and it has to be a multiple of all these three numbers: 10, 20, and 30. You can go for the number 10. Sorry, you can go for the number 30. You can also go for the number 60. Let's assume the work to be equal to 60 units. Even though if you take the total to be equal to 120, then also you'll be getting the same answer. Okay. So work assumed is equal to 60 guys. Now we'll figure out the efficiency of A, which comes out to be equal 60 by 20, to 3 units of work per day. Okay. Yes, correct है. तो क्या है आंसर? देखते हैं आगे. Efficiency of B is equal to 60 by 10, which is 6 units of work per day. And if I talk about the efficiency of C, it comes out to be 60 by 30, which is 2 units of work per day, guys. Now, a 60 unit of work, total 60 units of work needs to be completed on the first day. All three of them work together. It means on the first day, how much work will get completed? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 units of work will get completed on the first day. On the second day, only A performs. So A does 3 units of work. It means 11 plus 3, 12, 13, 14. So in the first 2 days, how much amount of work will get completed? 40 units of work. Okay. Again, in the next 2 days, 14 twos are 28 units of work will get completed. Again, ABC will work and then A will work. You know? So 42 units of work. Then again, ABC will work and A will work. Then 56 units of work, right? You know? Now, next ABC are gonna work and 56 units of work is total completed. So out of 60, we are done with 56. So we are remaining with 4 units of work. And ABC together can perform 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11 units of work per day. Okay. But we need to finish only 4 units of work. So in 1 day, we can do 11 units. In 2 days, 11 into 2. In 3 days, 11 into 3. So in 11 days, it's going to be 11 into 1. It's equated with the amount of work that needs to be completed. That is 4. And is equal to 4 by 11. It means we require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We require 8 complete days. We require 8 complete days, and the 9th one, the whole day is not required. Only the 4 by 11 part of the day is required. So total number of days is going to be what? You can write it as 8 plus 4 by 11, which is 11 8 is 88 plus 4 is 92 by 11. So those who have got 92 by 11, the answer is correct, or you could have just mentioned it as 8 4 by 11 days in the form of mixed fraction. That is also the correct answer. Okay, perfect. Okay. So this is the last question for today, guys. So we have talked about the basis of time and work. Then we have had a look at the concept, and then we have had a look at the type of questions that we can achieve, that we can solve using the concept. Also, we have built a certain approach that can be used to solve each and every question of time and work, guys. Okay. Approach kya hai? Approach is very, very simple. First, you need to see whether the efficiency is given or not. In the questions where efficiency is already given, the questions are going to be very, very easy. Okay, बहुत simple question होते हैं जिसमें efficiency already given होती है. जिनमें given नहीं होती है, उसमें निकालनी पड़ती है. निकालने के लिए आपको work given रहेगा. वर्क अगर गिवन है, एफिशिएंसी निकाल लोगे, सवाल सिंपल हो जाएगा. वर्क अगर गिवन नहीं है तो कुछ एज्यूम करना पड़ेगा. अब तक हमारी आदत थी हम उसको x या फिर 1 एज्यूम करते थे. आज के बाद हम उससे x या 1 एज्यूम नहीं करेंगे. जो भी नंबर ऑफ डेज लिखे हैं उनके हिसाब से हम वर्क एज्यूम करेंगे, उनका मल्टीपल एज्यूम करेंगे, ताकि एफिशिएंसी हमारी इंटीजर्स के फॉर्म में आ जाए और क्वेश्चन हमारा सॉल्व हो जाए. ठीक है. कल इससे थोड़े से और डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चन हम सॉल्व करेंगे. ठीक है. उसके बाद एक दूसरा कॉन्सेप्ट आता है, इसी का सेकंड पार्ट है, उस पार्ट को भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे. ठीक है. तो कल और लगेगा मेरे ख्याल से टाइम एंड वर्क में थोड़े क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने पड़ेंगे. पॉसिबिलिटी ये है कि परसों से हम स्पीड और टाइम शुरू कर सकें. ठीक है. देखो, टाइम एंड वर्क एंड स्पीड टाइम ये दोनों डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स नहीं है, थोड़ा थोड़ा ही है. स्पीड टाइम में ज्यादातर आपके डिस्टेंस वाले क्वेश्चन रहते हैं. टाइम एंड वर्क में ज्यादातर आपके ऐसे क्वेश्चन रहते हैं कि भैया एक दिन में एक आदमी ने इतना काम किया. ठीक है. तो बताओ कि 5 दिन में कितना काम करेगा, या फिर पर्सन की एफिशिएंसी इज गिवन की 20 डेज में 10 डेज में इतना काम कर रहा है, दूसरा बंदा भी 20 डेज में सेम काम कर रहा है ना, या 10 डेज में उतना काम कर रहा है, तो बताओ दोनों मिलकर कितना काम करेंगे. इस टाइप के क्वेश्चन ज्यादा होते हैं आपके टाइम एंड वर्क. ठीक है. टोटल 18-19 टॉपिक्स हैं गाइस आपके, है ना. समवेयर अराउंड 18-19 टॉपिक्स रखे हुए हैं देयर, एंड somewhere around 1.5 to 2 months will be required to finish the syllabus, guys. Okay. So yes, step by step we'll be going through the syllabus. This is the very first class, guys, है ना? तो इसके सारे क्वेश्चंस जो हैं एक बार घर पे बैठ के आराम से कर लेना, है ना? कल वापस आना, कल इसके जस्ट बाद वाला क्वेश्चन है, वहां से शुरुआत करेंगे जो कि इससे थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट है, ठीक है? तो प्लीज इस वीडियो को दोबारा देखना, इसके सारे क्वेश्चंस दोबारा से करना अगर आपको कुछ चीजें समझ में नहीं आई हैं तो, ठीक है? क्योंकि अगर आज करके नहीं आओगे अच्छे से, अच्छे सारे क्वेश्चंस अगर करके नहीं आओगे कल, तो कल चीजें समझ में नहीं आएंगी, है ना? चलिए, तो आज के लिए इतना ही गाइस. If there is anyone who would like to ask any question, please put it in the chat box, guys. Okay. And those who don't have any queries, they can just leave the session now. We'll switch to it, Shivu. Okay, we'll switch to it later on, but for now we have started our sessions on YouTube. Okay. So that was all for today, guys. See you tomorrow exactly at 9 p.m. Good night and take care, guys.